1015 FM, 720 AM. KDWN, the talk of Las Vegas.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Las Vegas. This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. 1 full hour of wrestling news, entertainment, and lots of Sin City surprises from inside the squared circle. Now, let's bring on the tag team of Andrew Fish Fane, Joe DeFalco, and your host, Mark Hoke.
All right, everybody, it's Saturday night, and you know what that means. Yeah, I've stolen the microphone here and taken over KDWN for the Mark Hoke Show. This is an AEW weekend, to say the least, here on our station. We are very excited. We've got some terrific interviews set up all weekend long. We're going to be doing, believe it or not, 2 shows tonight. One, of course, right now here on KDWN, 1015 FM, 720 AM, the talk of Las Vegas. And then we're going to be back at 10 p.m. tonight. So get a double dip of the Mark Hoke Show on Saturday. I think this is the first time we've pulled this stunt. Of course, you heard about my tag team partners. In case you haven't heard the show before, Joe DeFalco of Future Stars of Wrestling. A little tied up tonight because, of course, he runs the Future Stars of Wrestling promotion here in Las Vegas. He has had a lot going on, so we'll be missing Joe, and Fish is working tonight, but Andrew Fish Fane will be with us tomorrow morning at our usual time, which is Sunday, 8 a.m. Eastern time. So we hope you join us there. But do want to give you a little plug for Joe real quick. He has his Let It Ride card tomorrow. That is going to be at the FSW Arena at 6035 Harrison Avenue, suite number 5 down there. If you want to go check it out, starting at noon, so you can hit that before you head over to Double or Nothing tomorrow at the T-Mobile Arena. A lot of great talent on that card, so I would highly suggest, if you haven't gone to an FSW card, head on over there and check it out. You can still get tickets. Just go to fswvegas.com. And by the way, if you're interested in becoming a pro wrestler, Joe does a little training over there too, so make sure you check that out at fswvegas.com. Of course, AEW, All Elite Wrestling, has invaded Las Vegas this week. The Double or Nothing pay-per-view tomorrow. Of course, the main broadcast starts at 5. Kickoff show, I believe, we're starting at 4 o'clock. And we have a very fun kickoff match that's going to be getting that thing rolling. The debut of Hookhausen. That's right, Hook and Danhausen. Be careful if you're sitting ringside. He may curse you. Are going to be taking on Tony Nese and Smart Mark Sterling, the manager, lawyer, whatever role he decides to take. So that'll be an interesting little kickoff for AEW tomorrow. Of course, the main event is Hangman Adam Page defending the World Championship against CM Punk. Got a little heat at Dynamite this week. That was an interesting promo that happened. And in the second half of the show, we'll probably talk about that a little bit more. I think what we're going to try and do tonight is have our interview and then go through some of the news of the day and hit Dynamite, and then we'll deal with Rampage and some more news on the second show tonight at 10. Of course, coming up here in just a second, we're going to hear from the AEW Women's World Champion, Thunder Rosa, as she will be defending her title against Serena Deeb here at Double or Nothing. And then at 10 p.m., Platinum Max Caster of the Acclaimed. That's right. You're going to get to hear from him on our later show today. And then tomorrow, it is the world's strongest man, Mark Henry. You'll get to hear from him on our regular time at 8 a.m. And then, of course, we're going to replay that for you at 11 a.m. Pacific time. So all the wrestling you could want here on the Mark Hoke Show on KDWN at 1015 FM, 720 a.m. It's going to be a terrific weekend. And by the way, I want to thank Platinum Max Caster for giving me a little invite to come out and see him perform last night at the Nerd. A lot of the AEW gang showed up. I had a great time out there. And I got to say, Platinum Max, pretty solid behind the mic. very good job. Enjoyed the show, so so definitely check out all of Max's work. I think he said he's got a new album coming out, so follow him on Twitter, Platinum Max, and find out everything that's going on with him. But thanks to Max for having me be a guest out there last night at the Nerd. All right, so without further ado, what do you say we get into it? As I know everybody's been waiting to hear this one on the Mark Hoke Show. The AEW Women's World Champion, Thunder Rosa, as she gets ready to defend that title and talking about a lot of stuff, the road to her career and so on. So let's hear that interview from the champ right now. All right, and we are very excited for this guest on the Mark Hoke Show. She needs no introduction among wrestling fans, as she is currently the AEW Women's World Champion, taking the title off Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, on March 16th in her adopted hometown of San Antonio. And she and Baker's unsanctioned Lights Out match in 2021 won the prestigious Pro Wrestling Illustrated Match of the Year award, becoming only the second women's match in nearly the 4-decade history of the award to claim that honor. She will be defending her title against Serena Deeb at AEW's Double or Nothing pay-per-view here in Las Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena on Sunday, May 29th. So let's bring in the champ. Here is Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa, how are you?
I'm great. That's such a, I just love how you say she doesn't need to be introduced to the family. Just get along, get a nice introduction. I'm like, oh, thank you.
Well, you deserve it. You're the champ. Come on.
I know. I just like to be humble sometimes.
Has it sunk in yet? I mean, I know it's been a couple of months, but I mean, what's it like? I mean, you've had such an amazing road to get to this point in your career. I mean, how do you feel to be in the women's world champion now?
It feels great because it's a way to having the championship is a way to show that hard work pays off. But the most important part is when you are on top, you have to keep working hard to keep that, right? And to me, that's very, very important, and I take that to heart. So I'm very excited that I am the face of the women's division at AEW, and I am super excited because finally this Sunday at Double or Nothing, I will get to defend my championship again.
And the road that you took to get here. You have been through so many independent promotions, over to Japan. Take us, when you think about that long journey to get to AEW and then, to have a match of the year and then to win the title, what are some of the greatest memories that you have of getting to that point?
I think I will say all the friendships I made and all the travels I've been able to go through. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all those people that helped me along the way, and the fact that they continue to support me until now when I'm on top, it's so important to me because that's again, it's been a community effort to be able to accomplish this.
Now, you did some time in Stardom, and I wanted to ask you about that because a lot of American wrestling fans don't know about that promotion, but it is Japan's top all-women's promotion. What's the difference between wrestling in an American promotion and wrestling over there?
Well, you are, when I went there, it's literally you are booked to wrestle, and you don't really have to worry about oh my God, I have to get this booking, I have to go this booking on the weekend, because you're not independent. You are contracted to be at that company only. It is rough as an international wrestler to go to a new country because they have, their traits are different, the language is different, the way that they structure their matches is different, so you have to learn as you go.
And, I think that one other thing that's really struck me about how you got to where you did, a lot of people don't know that, you had a normal career, you were a social worker, you have a college degree, and, the decision eventually got made to go for it and do this full time. And for people out there that, and I think everybody out there struggles with that decision a little bit sometimes when they see an opportunity, but it's, boy, I'll tell you, you're taking a big chance. What was that like to finally pull the trigger and say, this is it, this is my dream, I'm going for it, and leave everything behind, at least for a while?
I think the main thing that will stop us, and I can tell you about myself too, it was a fear of the unknown, fear of like not having like health insurance, of not having a steady paycheck, knowing that you have to work harder than what you worked before to like make your financial. I was very blessed that I was very supported by my husband, and he's been a great support in my whole entire career. So that kind of alleviated some of those doubts. And like I said, at first I was afraid of what was going to happen, but knowing that I was going to be okay and knowing that that was the only chance I would have probably forever, fear was the one thing that stopped me for a while before I make the decision to jump ship and say, I'm ready. I've been really blessed that I have a husband that has been very supportive, so I didn't feel that I was going to be completely like left. I had to like hustle harder, find other ways to really, really, really make a name for myself because I didn't have a big company supporting me. And that's what happens a lot of the times when you're in your regular job and you want to do something that really drives your heart. It's like the fear of failing. But if you don't fail and if you don't take the chance, then you can't never say that you live, right? So for me, that was the main thing. I wanted to say I did it, and if I fail, and if not, I'll try again. But for me, that was like one chance that I had, and that was the only chance I had.
And I think that's one thing that really comes through when people see you on AEW is just the passion that you have for the business and what you're doing when you're in the ring. It really does come out, and it's really exciting to see that from somebody, because a lot of times people are going through the motions and so on, but there's just something I think a little extra about you and an extra spark when you're doing your job why do you think that is? It comes through so strongly.
Because everybody doubted me that I could be a professional wrestler because I'm 35 years old, and when I started I was 28. I'm like not your stereotypical young girl from from the 90s now, and like now how they're like booking them in many places, right? So to me that was a driving force to shut everybody up and like just to show myself that I can be able to do anything I want if I put my mind into it. It's just like coming into this country, like everything was against me. I didn't speak English. I wasn't a citizen. I came from a low income family. And the odds were against me on everything in life. But I've been a fighter my whole entire life. And this is again, it was just like a transition. It was an easy transition for me to be like, okay, so everybody thinks that I'm going to fail and I'm going to suck. Well, I'm going to show them it's full opposite, right? And I was like, I actually can do this. And I'm very successful at it. So that's why I'm like, when you see me in the ring, is like, that's where I have completely control over everything. And I feel very, very powerful. And I want to show that to everybody that is watching. I am powerful and that I can do this no matter what the odds are.
Yeah, it's definitely shown. How difficult is it to have a family and do this from a mother's side of things? I'm a single father myself, so I know, it can be tricky just having a career period, but doing what you're doing, you have apparently a great husband, but what is that like to have a young child and be a pro wrestler?
It's hard, man. It's hard. Like, I feel like now, every time I leave, my son is about to be 17, but he's very, very close to me. He gets very sad when I leave. He's very, he likes to hang out with mom. I mean, we wrestle together. We actually go on the road together now. That's the only group things that I can is when I wrestle and I tag team with him. And it is hard because when I go to sleep, I feel like I got work to do when I get home, right? So it's like you have to find that balance in where, okay, I have to make time for my kids so we can hang out and do things that is not me telling him to clean his room or to take a shower, right? But it's not impossible. I'm just glad that, like I said, my son he can take care of himself. But it still is like I want to be a present mother. Like I text him all the time. We're always sending each other messages all the time. I try to call him as much as possible, just to check on him, and just showing him that he needs to work. He needs to put in the work if he wants to do something in life.
Well, it sounds like he's got a pretty good role model, to say the least. So, and of course, we are on with Thunder Rosa, the AEW Women's World Champion, who's going to be defending her title at Double or Nothing coming up here in Las Vegas on Sunday the 29th. And is going to be facing off with Serena Deeb. And I think one thing that people don't really know that much is that you were the NWA Women's Champion and you lost that title to Serena Deeb. So you're very familiar with being in the ring with her. What is it like wrestling with Serena Deeb?
I don't know, man. It's just like she's I will have to say she's one of those opponents that you have, and like they kind of like know everything you do, even before you step in the ring. It was from moment one when we faced each other. It's very hard to explain. I don't know. It's like I'm like. Right now I'm like thinking and like reflecting. It is hard to explain. That's why that makes them so challenging. Because how are you going to surprise them if they know everything already?
Yeah, I think she's very underrated in terms of the whole scope of women's wrestling. She is just, it just seems like she always has an answer for everything. And that makes it an interesting night for whoever's taking her on. That is for sure. So you're definitely going to have a great match. So I'm looking forward to it.
I mean, it is going to be a great match, that's for sure. And like, I know for a fact that she feels, like you were saying, she feels unappreciated. And she feels that her whole entire career, as you said, that she's been a talent enhancement. I don't see her as a talent enhancement. I see her as another opponent that I have to make a statement, to make sure and to let people know, why am I the head honcho, la mera mera of AEW Women's Division? Why am I the face of AEW Women's Division?
Well, and I think one thing that has come up recently for you is getting that respect. And I remember I read an article a while back when you and Dr. Britt Baker had that match, that one match of the year, that you felt like you didn't get the respect in that match that you deserved. Has that feeling faded away a little bit now that you won the honor and now you're the champion? Or do you still feel that way a little bit about that match?
I think that's a great question, and I had so much to say about that.
Go ahead.
But I think I know what I'm doing, and I think I know who I am. I know I work really hard for where I am. That I continue to work hard. That I continue to pave the way for other women that will come after me. If I gain their respect, fine. If not, I'm going to earn it in the ring. So I've said this before to other people that have criticized me and to criticize some other people that have been in the ring with me. Is like, I dare anybody to take a risk, like I was telling you earlier, and to try to do something that will change your life completely and be successful at it. To be on top that way that I am on top is because I work hard and because I don't give up. So if people don't want to respect that, fine, I don't care. But they're going to respect what they're going to see on Sunday.
Well, take us back to March 16th of this year, the night that you defeated Britt Baker in that cage to win that championship. The match is over. You're walking out with the belt. What's going through your mind as you're heading back in the locker room and kind of wrapping up the evening?
Besides being like with this adrenaline pump and not knowing what just happened, I don't know. It was like one of the most beautiful feelings I felt in a long, long time. Like seeing my family, my son, my sister, my father, my husband, some of the closest people I've been in this journey for years, and like they embracing me when I'm like completely flooded and like I can barely walk. It meant a lot because this doesn't really happen to people like me. And knowing that I'm the first of my kind, like, female, Mexican born, everything else, it is very special. And like I said, the babyface assassin, the UFC former champion, he said really well, he's like, you guys can take the strip away from me, but what you're not going to take away from me is the fact that I'm going to continue to work really hard to make a difference, because it's the only thing I can do, because there's nobody like me. It hasn't been nobody like me, and I will continue to do that until the day I retire.
So where do you go from here? Right? Well, let's assume you defeat Serena Deeb coming up. What other goals do you want to accomplish in professional wrestling before you decide to hang it up?
Well, I definitely want to be a fighting champion at AEW. I would like to, if there's a possibility in the future to direct the videos, directing things like that, I want to get more educated on that. AEW it fosters such a place for us to be creative, for us to ask questions for different people in the company, and that's definitely one of the things that I would like to do. Once I have more time and retired, I would like to go back and coach women and men. I think that is very important to pass along the knowledge that I have earned in the last couple of years, and I think it's just do other stuff outside of the ring that will influence positively to other generations of Latinas and women just in general about feeling empowered about their life and their future.
And then as with the AEW women's division as a whole, it is continuing to improve. You've got some terrific athletes in there, and a lot are still learning in there too. And then you have somebody like Jade Cargill who's coming in, and you've got yourself and Britt Baker and Rosa, and a lot of talented athletes there. Where do you see the AEW women's division going at this point?
I don't know. I think time will just tell, and hopefully it is going to be stronger than what it is now, and I want to be part of it. I'm going to be there all the way, and I just want to share with the world all the knowledge and everything that I have learned in the last 8 years, and I'm here to learn, and I'm here to just to make anything better as much as possible.
Well, I know you've been doing that, and you have been one of the leaders in the AEW women's division. And I'll tell you what, this is going to be a fantastic match. I can't wait to see it with you and Serena Deeb coming up on Sunday at Double or Nothing. And I got to tell you what, if you've been listening to this and you're not rooting for Thunder Rosa to win this match, you don't have a heart. A terrific person and an amazing story. Thunder Rosa, we look forward to seeing what's going to happen on Sunday. It should be a terrific night.
And it will be. Thank you so much.
Hey, you got it. Thanks for coming on the show. We do appreciate it. All right, so there you go. Thunder Rosa, the AEW Women's World Champion, will be stepping through those ropes at T-Mobile Arena for the AEW Double or Nothing pay-per-view coming up on Sunday. Of course, they may be able to get some resale tickets on Ticketmaster and so on, but of course, if not, you can watch it on pay-per-view, all your favorite pay-per-view outlets, and of course, Bleacher Report, kind of their main one that AEW uses, so you can check out everything that's going to be going on, Double or Nothing. 12 matches, I believe it is, coming up on Sunday. It is going to be a sensational evening for AEW and wrestling in Las Vegas. So if you haven't seen AEW, this would be a pretty good time to do it. I really believe this is going to be an outstanding pay-per-view. And I think that Thunder Rosa Serena Deeb match is probably going to be one of the better ones on the card. So would highly recommend you check it out. And of course, right now, betting favorites. Yes, if you don't know, you can bet on wrestling. Not here in Vegas, unfortunately, but overseas. She is one of the huge favorites coming up on Sunday. At the moment, minus 1,500. So you can get a couple pennies if you throw $1 down. But Serena Deeb is a plus 600. Pretty interesting that she is such a massive favorite in this match. But of course, she is the champ, and she is a very talented wrestler who's come a long way in her career, and we look forward to seeing what's going to happen there and with everything on Double or Nothing. Speaking of which, when we come back, we're going to be talking more about everything that's been going on in a great Dynamite show from Wednesday night and a whole lot of other stuff happening here in Vegas and a little bit of controversy at the AEW FanFest. Ruh-roh. And, of course, you probably know who's behind it if you follow AEW at all. So stick around, everybody. We'll be right back for the second half of the Mark Hoke Show. Stick around. More to come here on KDWN 101.5 FM, 720 AM, the talk of Las Vegas. Want more of the Mark Hoke Show? Follow us on Twitter at Mark Hoke Show. Like us on Facebook at The Mark Hoke Show, and visit markhokeshow.com to keep up with everything happening with the show. And remember to check out all of our archive shows on YouTube at The Mark Hoke Show, and download our podcasts at markhokeshow.podbean.com and all your favorite podcast outlets. So join the Mark Hoke Show family today, and thanks for listening.
101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN, the talk of Las Vegas.
This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Here again, your host, Mark Hoke.
Yeah, that's right. It's me. I get behind the glass for shows here at KDWN, and then I'm stuck behind the glass again tonight, but that's okay. You know what? Someday I'll get out of this booth, but I'm definitely going to be getting out of the booth for Double or Nothing coming up on Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific time here in Las Vegas, and heading down to that T-Mobile Arena. A massive card, and actually, I apologize, 13 matches at this event. So it is going to be a crazy, wild night, a ton of terrific wrestling. And, of course, you can also watch it on your favorite pay-per-view outlets as well. So make sure you check out AEW Double or Nothing. And once again, I want to thank Thunder Rosa, who, by the way, landed a little gig for herself. Apparently, she's going to be doing an hour of Busted Open Radio on Fridays. So congratulations to her. Multi-talented lady. It doesn't hurt when you win a world championship. All the extra stuff that comes along with it. And it has been a pretty wild week here with AEW in town. A lot happening. But, of course, Wednesday night, we had Dynamite, Friday night Rampage, the pay-per-view on Sunday, and AEW's been doing a lot of other stuff. Like I said, I got to attend that fun event with Max Caster doing his rapping, and a lot of the AEW superstars showed up to lend in a little bit of fun. It was quite interesting, and I got to meet John Silver, great dude. So that was a lot of fun for me because I am a huge fan of Johnny Hungy, so that was quite the blast. Of course, they also had a little karaoke after Rampage on Friday, did a charity event, and they did it for the Las Vegas Rescue Mission, too. So kept the money at home. Daniel Bryan came out and made the announcement at the end of Rampage that they were hosting that at the MGM. Looks like everybody had a pretty good time. Some good singing, some bad singing, and, well, we'll just hope that cats are okay that we're outside the MGM. But it was a great time there. AEW FanFest took place today as well. And mostly everybody had a good time, but unfortunately, we did have one person no show, and that, of course, was MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, who is facing Wardlow tomorrow, and no one could reach him by phone. Apparently, this was not a work, and they have apparently been having some issues backstage in terms of his contract. He hasn't been happy. He really, in my opinion, is the number one heel in AEW. And if you were at Dynamite on Wednesday night, you heard that. That was incredibly loud over the Michelob Ultra Arena over at Mandalay Bay. But wow, the people just love to boo that guy. But unfortunately, once again, no showed, and that news came in a little bit earlier in the afternoon. And let me just pull the story here. There we go. I believe PW Insider broke it, and also on WrestlingNews.co that security told fans at today's Double or Nothing FanFest that MJF was not answering his phone. Fans in attendance were offered a spot in a different wrestler line, and some received refunds. PW Insider reports that the promotion was not able to get in contact with him. A fan on Twitter claimed that she saw him in a casino. So, wow. MJF taking it to the extreme here. No showing at today's AEW FanFest. Not sure I like that too much. You know, if you're supposed to be doing something, you do it. Of course, we had this controversy a week and a half ago-ish with Sasha Banks and Naomi in WWE walking out of a Raw broadcast. And, boy, this, I don't know. Somebody may have to have a talk. But, of course, you always wonder if it's a work. But, of course, with something like a fan fest, you really don't want to let the fans down. And this is certainly going to be an issue going forward. And unfortunately, what could be a huge night for Wardlow may be getting overshadowed a little bit by MJF skipping this fan fest, but we'll see where all this goes. Of course, MJF has been very vocal about wanting to explore his options when the contract's up. He hasn't been happy. He wants to get a raise. Kind of surprised Tony hasn't done yet, because to be honest with you, I'd lock this guy up. But we'll see how this progresses as time goes by. But maybe a few more people may be rooting for MJF to get mauled by Wardlow tomorrow in more ways than one. So we'll see how that story turns out. And apparently Samoa Joe missed today's Fan Fest as well, but that was a communication issue that got cleared up. But, so we missed Samoa Joe and MJF. But, wow, what a interesting story, and MJF playing some contract games here. So we'll see how that turns out. And, of course, you are listening to the Mark Hoke Show on KDWN 101.5 FM, 720 AM. Normally, we are on Sundays at 8 a.m., 11 a.m. Eastern Time. But because of AEW Weekend and all the great content we got from AEW, we are doing all these extra shows. Believe it or not, we're going to have the Trojan Football Report coming up at its usual time at 9 o'clock. And then I'm taking the mic again at 10 o'clock. And we're going to be hearing from Platinum Max Caster of the Acclaimed Tag Team, one of the great young tag teams in AEW. Of course, you'll hear Mr. Caster counter that just a little bit and take it another level. But we'll save that. It was a fun interview to do with Platinum Max Caster. So looking forward to that. And, of course, on Sunday, we are really excited, truly excited to hear from the WWE Hall of Famer. He is the world's strongest man. Mark Henry had joined us, and we're going to hear from him on our show on Sunday at 8 a.m., and then we're going to replay it for you at 11 a.m. That is Pacific time. So tune on in. We'd love to hear you. And I know Fish is going to be, Andrew Fish Fane, one of our co-hosts, will be back in the co-pilot seat for that one. So we'll look forward to having Fish in there, and I'm sure we'll be breaking down the AEW Double or Nothing pay-per-view. Like I said, a lot of terrific matches and some interesting points for some of the wrestlers here and where they're going to be headed coming out of this pay-per-view. It is going to be something else, to say the least. But let's take a look at what happened on Dynamite. As I got to tell you, being there, terrific show. And I got to say, I thoroughly enjoyed the whole thing. Started off the night, of course, with that steel cage match. Wardlow taking on Shawn Spears. Of course, MJF's best buddy. MJF was the guest referee and actually pulled out the Shawn Michaels spandex shorts to guest ref this thing. Was a little surprised. Of course, MJF was the referee, so of course we had to find a way to get him out of the way. He took an unprotected chair shot to the head. And everybody has really been staying away from those, to say the least, because, of course, a lot of issues about concussions and so on. So was a little surprised to see that one go down, but Wardlow clocked him pretty well. And Wardlow ended up winning that match. But it might have been the loudest I heard the arena that night for those two guys, and Wardlow is way over. My God, everybody wants this guy to succeed. And I did see an article today comparing him to Batista, and I would say that that's a pretty fair career trajectory to put him up against. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night with those two. But Wardlow having a great match with Shawn Spears to take that one down. And then there was a really interesting confrontation as Hangman Adam Page, who is the AEW World Champion, is defending against CM Punk. Of course, a lot of you that followed wrestling knew him from his WWE days, and of course he came back to wrestle for AEW a little while ago, and they are facing off in the main event for that title. But I gotta say, this promo seemed to get a little bit personal. Page insisting that he is actually defending AEW from CM Punk, and Punk coming back with a comment about how he was the one that paved the way and Adam Page wouldn't have anything if it wasn't for him. And Punk was getting booed pretty hard on a lot of this stuff. And he certainly got his cheers when he comes in, but it was a very strange audience reaction as this promo went on, because as you've been seeing on some of the other shows for AEW, that Punk was getting really heavily cheered and they were setting Page up as the heel or the bad guy in this thing. But the tide has been shifting on that a little bit. And I can tell you, being around a lot of the AEW fans, for example, Justin Roberts, the ring announcer at both of the broadcasts, would say, well, who are you rooting for, Punk or Page? And the cheers were pretty even. And I can tell you that last night, Max Caster did the same thing, and it was pretty deadlocked as well. So Hangman Adam Page is getting some sympathy from the audience on this, and it could be setting up a CM Punk heel turn. We'll find out. This is getting to be a very tricky spot for the Punkster, so we'll see how that goes. A melee then took place as the Private Party tag team took on Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. And, of course, Moxley and Kingston are involved in that 10-man match where all hell is going to break loose between the Jericho Appreciation Society, as they will be facing off with Moxley, Kingston, Santana and Ortiz, and the Black and Bryan Danielson. So that one is going to be a wild one. Of course, that just ended up in a nightmarish brawl, but overall a good match between the two teams. Private Party got some good work in, but a nice win for Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley as mayhem just ensued the whole match. Just kind of the way things are going with those two. So we'll find out how that 10-man match ends up on Sunday. We had the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships defended. Of course, if you didn't know, AEW's Tony Khan, the owner, bought Ring of Honor. So he has been kind of sneaking the titles in on AEW broadcasting until they get things worked out to separate the promotions. But my favorite tag team, FTR, took on Roppongi Vice, Ricky Romero and Trent Beretta, who have been very successful in Japan and Ring of Honor. But they faced off for those Ring of Honor titles. FTR did pull out the win, but everybody got clobbered by Jeff Cobb and Great Okan from Japan. Of course, they are doing the Forbidden Door pay-per-view in June, where they're going to be working with New Japan Pro Wrestling. So a little bit of a promotion for that, but a wild finish there. Unfortunately, I did see somebody, by the way, on Twitter who, and I don't want to say the handle, don't want to embarrass anybody, but they said, oh, yeah, we met Samoa Joe, and it was Jeff Cobb. So it happens. It's all good. We had a three-way match that is promoting the Tag Team Championship match for AEW Double or Nothing. Jungle Boy took on Swerve Strickland and Ricky Starks, a terrific match with Swerve Strickland coming out on top, as this kind of sets up the three-way match for the AEW Tag Team titles, where we're going to see Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus taking on Team Taz, which is Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs, the two young superstars, and they will face Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland for those titles. And honestly, I think a lot of people are not sure which way this one's going to go, but I can tell you that through a lot of crowd participation things that I saw, a lot of people want Team Taz to win this thing. We'll see where it turns out. Of course, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus have been solidly defending those titles for a while, and we'll find out if they're going to hold on at Double or Nothing coming up on Sunday. So looking forward to that one, but another terrific match between those two. And then we had the Owen Hart Foundation Women's Tournament semifinal. Of course, the Owen Hart Foundation having agreed with AEW to put on this event. So there's a men's tournament and a women's tournament, of which the championships will both be decided at Double or Nothing on Sunday. Toni Storm, who recently just came in from WWE, taking on the former AEW Women's Champion, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. And Britt Baker manages to come out on top. Pretty wild one. Crowds was pretty even on this. So we'll see how all this turns out. But Britt Baker will be wrestling for that title, and we'll mention a little bit later on. Well, I guess we can just say it. It's going to be Ruby Soho, but Ruby Soho got a little bit of a controversy with that match with Chris Statlander. Nothing she really did, but the crowd was speaking loudly, and we'll probably talk about that more on the second hour of the show coming up at 10 o'clock tonight. The second half of the final of the Owen Hart Men's Tournament semifinal was decided as well. Adam Cole is already in that final, and he will face off now with Samoa Joe, who knocked off Kyle O'Reilly. Another pretty solid match. Would have liked to maybe seen a little bit more out of him, but still a terrific bout between the two. But Samoa Joe and Adam Cole going to be facing off in that Owen Hart Tournament final. So looking forward to seeing that as well. And that was the main event of AEW Dynamite. So a pretty good episode. I think kind of setting everything up fairly well for Sunday's pay-per-view. And once again, don't forget, if you want to check that out, you can either come down to the T-Mobile Arena on Sunday. I believe you can still get some resale tickets, or just watch it on pay-per-view in the comfort of your own home. So make sure you check that out. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so let's, we got about 7 or 8 minutes left. Why don't we hit some other news that was going down here in the world of professional wrestling. And speaking of CM Punk, because of the fan reaction, it certainly, with that promo with Adam Page, it certainly brought a little bit of light to how do people really feel about CM Punk, with Adam Page seemingly throwing him under the bus and saying that people aren't really happy with him, and he's been disappointing and so on. But there are some stories flying around saying that there may be a possibility that Punk hasn't been the most easy guy to deal with and so on in the back. There are a lot of stories that have certainly gone against that. So, there's some rumors hanging around. Of course, Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez from Wrestling Observer were discussing that earlier this week. But there's also been some teases as well. With MJF had been talking about the real CM Punk during their feud when that was going on. So maybe we're setting up for a CM Punk heel turn here at Double or Nothing. I think a lot of people are really looking forward to seeing CM Punk win this title. But the question is, if he does it, how will it happen? We'll see. But so some interesting news about CM Punk there as well. Let's see. Let's take a look at... there was a very interesting story about Mark Henry that broke this week. Of course, we're going to hear from Mark Henry tomorrow at 8 a.m. here on KDWN 101.5 FM, 720 AM on the Mark Hoke Show. And I'm Mark Hoke, by the way. Thanks for being with us. Of course, Mark Henry had made a comment about the whole Sasha Banks-Naomi situation. Said when Jimmy Uso went down to wrestle his match after they had gotten sent home, that he should have told the commentator, Corey Graves, a little piece of his mind because he didn't like the announcement that got made. Booker T fires back. Booker T, of course, we had him on the show a while back when he had his Reality of Wrestling promotion here in Las Vegas. And the comments that he made during his Hall of Fame podcast was surprisingly not flattering to Mark Henry. Of course, Booker T does a lot of the pre-shows for WWE as well. But he happened to mention that I said I'm 100% sure Mark Henry knows that what comes out of Corey Graves' mouth is something that he was told to actually say, normally 9 times out of 10, especially when it's something to that magnitude. I wouldn't imagine that's Graves' personal position. So, obviously, and that situation is still ongoing. Of course, some news just broke that apparently Sasha and Naomi are not only were suspended, they're suspended without pay. So, wow, not good for them. But yeah, and I have to say that on this situation, I as much as I hate to say it, with Mark Henry, I wouldn't have said anything either. Obviously, this is, it's a tricky situation, but, getting on Corey Graves' case about it, clearly that the statements that have been read were pretty much straight out of Vince McMahon and the team. So can't hold it against Corey, but this is still going to be a tricky spot. And we'll, of course, keep covering the Sasha Naomi situation on the Mark Hoke Show as that continues to progress. One thing now that happened in Vegas, by the way, and this is a pretty huge development, WWE's Money in the Bank was scheduled to come off at the Allegiant Stadium. But unfortunately, wow, if you didn't hear it, they have pulled out of Allegiant Stadium for the July 2nd WWE Money in the Bank, premium live event. So they're going to be headed over to the MGM Grand Garden Arena for that one. But apparently ticket sales not good, or at least not good enough for Vince. So they decided to move this to a new venue. And once again, like I said, it'll be over at the MGM. But this was a lot of people were really surprised when WWE announced that this show was going to be at Allegiant Stadium. It's not one of their big pay-per-views. WWE apparently has had the ambition that they want to put their premium live events into stadiums from here on out. But this one didn't work out. And honestly, I really think that they, number one, need to give it more time. I mean, this is a long way out to really be pushing this. But on the other side, and not to say anything too critical about WWE, but for example, we were trying to reach WWE to hype it as soon as that came out and hadn't heard a peep. And if you're trying to sell tickets, especially in the 50 to 60,000 range, you really need to get every outlet you can to help you out. So a pretty shocking development. And the MGM Grand Garden Arena only holds 17,000 people. So we will see how that's all going to work out for WWE as they are out of Allegiant Stadium. Everyone apparently got refunded, and they're going to have first shot to get the tickets at the new venue. But that is, I don't know if you can call it a colossal failure, but certainly not what WWE was hoping for, to say the least. So we'll see how things go with the ticket sales at the MGM Grand, as we'll be hosting Money in the Bank here in Las Vegas that weekend. And I know it's going to be another huge wrestling weekend here in Las Vegas. And to kind of wrap things up here a little bit, we have a WWE AEW merger. That's right. Two representatives, one from each company, have gotten together. And that is Andrade El Idolo and Charlotte, who got married over the weekend. The wedding pictures are all over the place. And we want to send our congratulations out to those two, who looks like they had an amazing ceremony. So congratulations to Andrade El Idolo and Charlotte Flair, who have now tied the knot in wrestling bliss. So congratulations to them. All right, so we're getting ready to wrap up here on our first hour of the night. Of course, once again, reminder, second hour, we are going to be having Platinum Max Caster on the show. That'll be coming up at 10 p.m., so we'll look forward to having Platinum Max Caster as our guest on the show. That's going to be a great time. And, of course, don't forget, if you want to follow us on social media, we'd certainly appreciate it. At Mark Hoke Show on Twitter. Facebook, The Mark Hoke Show. MarkHokeShow.com for the website. We're also on YouTube, The Mark Hoke Show. And if you want to check out all of our past broadcasts with the full team in play, we would certainly love to have you do that too. Join us at markhokeshow.podbean.com and all your favorite podcast outlets. We have been heard around the world, 5 different continents. It is pretty exciting, and we thank all of you for downloading this podcast. We will see you guys, at 10 o'clock. Stick around. We'll be right back.